Yo, what is going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back, finally, with some more of the Shell Inferno. Last time we left off, we finally started getting... we actually did. We finally started getting really into the investigation. So, we are currently undercover at, I think it's Obagirl's Academy. We are kind of getting some semblance of camaraderie-ish between us and Toko. So, and we also witnessed another one of the murders. So I made a whole little string of theories at the end of last episode. So if you're interested at all in that, go check out the last episode. If you're just starting the series, go watch from the beginning because it's very good. So, as for what I'm expecting from this episode, probably not too much more. Probably just some more kind of poking around. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think we're gonna do anything too crazy, but, well, we might, but we'll see. Let's jump right back into it. I've been studying the stains on my ceiling for quite some time, and yet sleep continued to elude me like it had the whole night. I hadn't gotten even so much as a wink after all these hours. Damn it, I'm not even drowsy. I got out of my futon and put a cigarette in my mouth. Not even midnight yet, huh? That's a great idea. Oh, I can't sleep, let me just smoke a cig. I headed to the living room without lighting my cig. Yukari was probably out like a light by now. Maybe a little evening stroll would do me some good. Though it was chilly out, it certainly wasn't freezing. Okay, where to? There's only so many places I could visit at this hour. Nowhere outside Kichijoji was viable anyway. Oh. Alright, let's see. Moonworld, Inokashita Park, or just stay home and read. Obviously I'm tempted to go to Moonworld, but at the same time I want to go to Inokashita Park just because I feel like that might be interesting. So I do want to save just on the absolute off chance. I don't think anything special necessarily is going to happen, but we'll just override that one. Okay, let's go to Inokashita Park. I crossed the Chuo line and sauntered over to Inokashita Park. There wasn't anyone around. What a twist, I know. The opposite shore was practically invisible thanks to the fog. I traveled the path circling the pond. The lack of light made it difficult to proceed, though luckily it wasn't so bad that I risked falling into the pond by accident. Suddenly, I detected motion ahead of me. For a moment I entertained the possibility of a ghost, but it was unlikely in this season, not when spring was so close. However, I could still make out the shape of a person through the fog. Maybe it was the ghost of the girl who'd gotten dismembered? That would have been a godsend, actually. I could have asked her who she was and who'd killed her. I carefully ventured into the dense fog. The figure's features slowly came into focus. I fucking knew we were gonna meet Toko here, dude. Let me turn down my volume. That's kind of what I figured. I figured we were probably gonna meet Toko. Alright. Oh, she said, how rude, you always go around accusing others of being the Walking Dead. I do, actually. And when I stared into the abyss stared back at me. Or rather, an annoyed Toko Kuchigi did.
こんな時間に何をしているんだ?
時坂先生こそこんなところで何をしているのかな?
Toko rebuffed my question with a little smirk. For whatever reason, she seemed different than she did in daylight. She was clad in a bewitching yet beautiful aura that was less a girl's and more a woman's.
こんな時間に出歩いていたら危険だぞ.
心配してくれるの? ありがとう時坂先生。でも慣れているから問題ないよ。家もすぐ近くだからね。
そういう問題ではないんだけれどな。
I started to wonder if anything I said would even get through to her.
夜の公園は怖いよ。特に水のあるところは余計にね。
そりゃそうだろうな。
The fog gradually lifted, revealing Inokashita Pond, pitch black and gaping like a maw into hell.
こうして見ていると吸い込まれてしまいそうな 落ちてしまいそうな気分になるんだ。
Toko looked up to the sky.
月か。
The moon poked its face through a gap in the clouds.
水面に映る月は美しいよ。揺らめきながら光を跳ね返している。
Oops. Toko pointed at the moonlight beaming toward the center of the pond.
太陽の日差しは強すぎるから、月はそれを優しく和らげてくれるんだ。
She suddenly turned back to me.
だから私は夜が好きなんだ。
Toko smiled alluringly.
いくら夜が好きでも、ふらふらと一人で出歩くのは感心しないな。
She was surely making her parents sick with worry.
それは教師としての言葉かい？
依頼人の身の安全を確保するのは当然だろう。
I gently grabbed her arm before she could say another word.
襲うつもりかい？
Whoa!
バカ言う。家まで送るだけだ。
I met Toko's teasing with my poker face as I released her.
近くなんだろう。そこまでなら。
心配には及ばないよ、探偵さん。家に男性を連れて帰っては余計に驚かせるだけだからね。
Toko twirled around.
おやすみなさい。また明日、時坂先生。
おい。
Her contours slowly melted in the darkness. I couldn't bring myself to chase her down.
気をつけろよ、トコ。
I could have sworn I saw Toko's shadow wave back to me as I did that. Yep, Toko's a little bit fucking weird, isn't she? Both of the Tokos are weird. It's just one gives off like ghostly vibes. The other one gives off like psychotic yandere vibes.
ドイツ、フランスやイギリスへ
And
も
even England.
いろ
I
いろ
like
な
how
も
they
の
say
が
that
あ
as
る
if England's like the outlier, the
ここ
exception.
では見られないものも
I'd even visit England,
たくさんあるだろう。
the shithole.
だけれど
England hate is
行
crazy.
くことはできないだろう。だから私は夢を見る。世界中を巡る夢を。絵画や写真で見た景色の中に私がいる。 March 9th. Let's go. Another day of school. Yukari entered the living room all dressed up. 兄さん、今日は学院へ来るのですか？
ああ、授業もする予定だからな。
I had to hold lectures to keep up my masquerade as a part-time teacher.
でしたら一緒に行きましょうか。
そうだな。
It'd be a decent opportunity to observe all the other students heading to school
着
too.
替えてくるから少し待ってろよ。
ええ、わかりました。
Yukari and I made our way to Obergirl's Academy with plenty of time to
こ
spare.
の辺りは戦争でだいぶやられたけれど、随分と戻ってきたようだな。
飛行機工場があったところですね。
そういや、そこの野球場に連れて行ってやったこと覚えているか？
それほど昔のことではないから覚えていますよ。
I casually matched Yukari's pace. And just as the school gates came up on the horizon,
おはよう、ゆかりん。
here we go. A peppy voice, most unsuitable for this place, crept up from behind, shattering in our morning tranquility.
おはよう、つづり子。おお、ゆかりんがおじさんと歩いてる。
誰がおじさんだ？
I already had enough of a complex about looking older than I actually was, but that just took the cake.
私の兄さんよ。昨日の朝礼で挨拶していたでしょ。兄さん、こちらは閉じるという字に子で、つづり子というの。ああ、道理で見覚えがあると思った。先生なんだね。
Was she seriously part of the same school I saw yesterday? And here I'd been starting to think that the place was full of mass-produced robots.
なんだい、ジロジロと見ちゃって。私に惚れるなよ。
This girl, I swear.
なあ、ゆかり。大葉女学院ってのは
Special
こん
cases.
なのでも入れるのか？
無視された。てか、こんなのって言うな。兄さん、つづり子はこれでも博学なんですよ。 ゆかりまでこれでもなんて親友でしょ私たち。
She grabbed Yukari's arm and swung it around like a lasso. If Yukari was vouching so hard for her, then they must have been really good friends.
綴り子はこれまでに何冊も小説を出版しているんですよ。
そうなのか。
先生と呼んでもらっても構わないよ。
Susu Rider. Suzuriko proudly tooted her own horn.
校則違反だな。非常勤でも講師としてこれは見逃せない。
いやいやちょっと待ってよ。
Suzuriko did a complete 180 and clung to my arm like a criminal getting dragged to the gallows.
私は文芸部の活動の一環として小説を書いているだけであって、副業とかそれで儲けてウハウハとかそんなの全然考えてないんだからね。
わかったから少し落ち着け。誰にも言わないから。
First Toko and now her. Why was I a magnet for all the weirdos at this school?
それでトジコはどんな話を書いているんだ。
結構いろいろ分野としては怪奇小説だよ。で、トジコって誰？
いや、綴り子って
Thank
言い
you.
にくいか
Somebody had to say it.
バッテンドジコって言われてるみたいやなか。
ほう、トジコは博多生まれなのか。
ばあちゃんが福岡出身ばいって、それは今関係ないってば。二人ともこんなところで騒いでいては怒られますよ。
Yukari coolly chided us.
兄さんは大人なんですからきちんとしてください。
いや、珍しくからかいがいのあるやつだからな。
やーい、怒られてやんの。トジコもあまり兄さんを煽らないでちょうだいね。はーい。ってゆかりんまでトジコ言わない。
Tojiko suddenly shut her big mouth the moment we reached the gates. It seemed even the craziest of wildfires were quelled at this school. The other students remained just as silent.
おはようございます、時坂先生。
Orihime greeted the line of students filing
お
in.
はよう、月島さん。委員会の活動会。
はい、朝の挨拶は健全な生活を送るのに必要不可欠ですから。おはようございます、織姫様。
Tojiko's voice took on a shockingly humble tone.
ええ、おはよう、よそみやさん。
どうしたトジコ。急に塩らしく。
Did she just stomp on my foot?
いかがなさいましたか、先生。何でもございませんわ、織姫様。
Tojiko darted over to Orihime while grinding her heel into my foot.
そうですが、よそみやさん、教師とはいえ殿方に必要以上に接することはあまり感心いたしませんよ。ええ、分かっておりますわ。
Yukari tugged on my sleeve and dragged me away from the two of them.
あいつ。
仕方ありませんよ。綴り子は普段真面目な学生で通っていますから。
Maybe, but that innocent act didn't seem the norm to me. It felt like something straight out of a novel for teenage
ひ
girls.
ょっとして昨晩言っていた校則を破っている友人というのがトジコなのか。
内緒ですよ。
わかってるさ。
I wasn't the type to rock the boat in a place I was just passing through, especially since it clearly had nothing to do with the case.
よそみやトジコ。
I know, I've solved it. She's the murderer! She must be! What a funny name. Tojiko Yosomiya or something like that. But then I guess she's called Tsuzuriko on the side? Maybe that's like her nickname or something? I don't know. I don't know how Japanese names work. They're backwards, literally. The time had finally come to hold my lecture. Apparently I could teach the students anything so long as it was about world history. And so, after thinking it over, I decided to cover some topics related to the 100 Years' War. There's plenty to discuss there, including famous figures such as Joan of Arc. The bell signaling the end of the period rang. Well, here goes nothing. The juniors I'd be teaching, the Wisteria class, had their classroom on the same floor as the history prep room, so there was no real rush. My case involved freshmen, so these kids had nothing to do with it. Still, I highly doubted I'd end up with Yukari's class. I entered the classroom right as the bell rang. The air inside was so gloomy that you never believed these girls had been on break mere seconds earlier. Several of them did spare me a glance, only to immediately turn their eyes back forward. Save a few, anyway. So she's actually in this class, huh? And Yukari was right next to her.
昨日よりこちらで臨時講師を務めることになった時坂です。よろしくお願いします。
No one reacted when I got up to the podium and formally introduced myself either. I'd honestly thought hearing my last name might have elicited a few looks in Yukari's direction, but everyone seemed almost too disciplined in that regard. The sea of white uniforms was beginning to blur into one giant mass.
本日は特別講義ということで、英国とフランスの間に起きた戦争、いわゆる100年戦争について話してみたいと思います。
Still no response even after I began. Yukari appeared to be taking notes on my lecture. Tojiko was writing something too, but whatever it was, it clearly wasn't related to what I was saying, since her pencil was racing far too fast for that. Maybe it was one of her novels. She had mentioned she wrote those.
戦争末期に出てきたのが有名なジャンヌ・ダルクです。彼女に協力したジル・ドレという貴族がいたのですが、よそみやさん。
Tojiko's head darted up like she'd been caught with her pants down.
彼がモデルであると言われている童話の主人公は誰でしょう？
童話？子供たちが屠殺ごっこをした話かな。
どんな童話だよ。
ちゃんとしたグリム童話だよ。まあ残酷すぎてすぐ削除されたらしいけどね。
Yeah. You know, it's kind of funny. That's something that people don't really acknowledge. The Grimm brothers' fairy tales were, well, they were fucking grim, you know? And then I feel like it's always forgotten because Disney's put such a fucking happy, magical spin on all of them. Ugh.
なんでそういうことばかり知ってるんだ。念のために言っておくと、青ひげだからな。
青ひげってローマのフリードリヒ一世じゃなかったっけ？
それは赤ひげ王な。
Barbosa. Oh, Barbarossa. Barbarossa. How does she even know that? Well, that aside, none of the other students reacted at all. Not even to that whole back and forth Tojiko and I just had. Minus an exasperated look from Yukari anyway. I went back to teacher mode and resumed the lecture, only to notice a student seated by the window. It was Toko Kuchiki. So she's in the same class as Yukari and Tojiko, huh? Though she wasn't taking any notes, her eyes remained trained on me like a hawk. Well, this is pretty damn awkward. I kept teaching until the bell rang, but the students wore the same expressionless masks from start to finish. I let out a deep sigh once I escaped the classroom. That was exhausting. Silent pressure didn't even begin to describe it. I never knew such an overwhelming lack of response could be so painful. It's like I was wasting my time in there. This could make investigating a Herculean labor. Trying to get them to talk was like wringing blood from a stone.
お疲れ様です。時坂先生。
Who's this guy? A young teacher suddenly addressed me.
ああ、どうも。
It was only after greeting him that I realized I didn't know his name.
2年富士組の担任をしています。草加達彦です。
ああ、妹がいつもお世話になっています。
やはり時坂さんのお兄さんでしたか。こちらこそよろしくお願いします。立ち話もなんですから場所を変えましょうか。
Kusaka moseyed down the hallway. I followed him, figuring this would be as good an opportunity as any to get some answers from an insider. We sat at the visitors' sofas in the staff room.
学生たちの様子には驚かれたでしょう。
そうですね。おとなしいですよね。
It didn't seem like we'd caught the attention of anyone else, fortunately. Still, I kept my voice hushed to be safe. This wasn't exactly a conversation I wanted people overhearing, after all.
お気持ちはお察ししますよ。最初は僕もそうでしたから。なんというか反応が薄いんですよね。
授業を進める上では良いのではないですか？
そうでもありませんよ。話を聞いているのか理解しているのか全くわかりませんからね。
Kusaka heaved a deep sigh. It seemed he shared my pain.
臨時講師とはいえ大変だと思いますよ。
そんなに大変なのですか？
I'm sure you'll have a rough time. Thank
女
you for
学校
the
ですから
confidence.
いろいろとあるんですよ。
Kusaka flashed me a weary smile.
まあ、自分がいる期間は短いですからね。なんとかやりますよ。
I mean, that's kind of the type of thing that you would assume, right? Like, oh, male teacher in an all-girls school, there's going to be a lot of, like, you know, scandalous flirting going on. Primarily from the girls themselves. But with a school like this, where it's so heavily disciplined, I can't imagine you really have those kinds of problems, you know? But I do wonder.
そうですね。頑張ってください。ああ、それと一つだけ忠告を。
何ですか？
この学院では学生との必要以上の接触は禁じられていますから気をつけてください。若い教師というだけで理事や保護者会から警戒されてしまいますから。
Ooh, that's a good point. that is scarily realistic. Wonderful. I suppose I should have expected as much from a school filled with sheltered young ladies. Though personally, I couldn't see any good coming out of keeping them so isolated from the world. Yeah, but it's because nothing good does come from that. I had lunch with Kusaka before leaving the staff room. The two of us stuck to innocuous topics from start to finish, so unfortunately I didn't learn anything useful. Still, this place was uncanny as hell. None of the students so much as whispered a word about the disappearances thanks to the stifling atmosphere. Though two of their own had gone missing, nothing seemed to miss. I would have expected more of a commotion, especially since missing persons reports had already been filed. Needless to say, investigating behind everyone's backs like this certainly made things much harder than they had to be. But this was what put bread on my table, so I had no right to complain. I spotted a throng of people in a corner of the hallway. Now that was curious. Girls were crowding around Orihime Tsukushima. Though I couldn't tell what they were discussing, they were all staring enviously at her. They looked at her as an idol. Not as an idol, but as an outright goddess.
すごいでしょ、織姫様。
I glanced at my side to find that Tojiko had snuck up on me before I'd even noticed.
なんだ、トジコか？
トジコって言うな。
She kicked me in the shin.
お前な。
なんで織姫様を見てたの？
人気があるんだなと思ってな。
そうだね。後輩だけじゃなくて同級生からも慕われているみたいだからね。
Tojiko's choice of words struck me as odd.
先生、なしたん？
いや、お前も慕っていたように思えたんだが、気のせいだったか？
I'd assumed as much based on how she'd acted this morning, but now she was practically forsaking Orihime as though she'd had the wool lifted from her eyes.
さすがは探偵だね。
Tojiko whispered to keep my profession a secret from the rest of the students.
何か理由があるようだな。
今は内緒だよ。
Tojiko flashed me a mischievous smirk before joining the ring of Orihime devotees.
失礼します。
I decided to visit the infirmary in my free time. I'd wanted to ask Dr. Akizaki some questions, but it didn't seem like anyone was around, unfortunately.
いや、誰か寝ているのか。
The curtains around the bed were drawn shut. That indicated someone wasn't feeling well, so I couldn't afford to overstay my welcome. So I turned to leave when suddenly a familiar voice stopped me in my tracks.
時坂先生？
トコか？
ああ、やっぱり時坂先生だ。
The curtains parted from the side, revealing a grinning Toko on the bed.
起こしてしまったか。
最初から眠ってなどいないさ。退屈だったから少し付き合ってくれないかな。
Toko sat up.
どこか悪いのか？
無病息災というわけではないけれど、取り立てで病弱というわけではないと思うよ。今日はただ気分が優れなかっただけさ。
まだ休んでいろよ。
I motioned for Toko to stop just as she was about to get out of the bed.
優しいんだね。それとも
Come on,
こ
Toko.
こで私を襲うつもりかな？
バカなこと言ってるんじゃないよ。
Ever the tease, huh? I sat in a nearby chair and faced Toko. She seemed somewhat haggard. She definitely looked sickly, though maybe that was just because her face was pale to begin with.
先生の授業、なかなか面白かったよ。
I did a double take and stared at Toko's face after hearing that.
ここでは授業といえば思想の押し付けや受験のための詰め込みばかりだからね。他の人は関係ないと聞き流していたようだけれど。
ちゃんと聞いていてくれたんだな。
当然じゃないか。授業の経験がない探偵さんがどんな楽しいヘマをしでかすか固唾を飲んで見守っていたんだよ。
趣味が悪いな。
That was the only reason she paid attention to my lecture?
冗談だよ。
Toko chuckled.
あら、時坂先生じゃありませんか。
Nene returned to the
お
infirmary.
邪魔していますよ。
ええ、 それは構わないのですが。
Nene glanced at Toko.
赤崎先生、私はもう大丈夫ですので、これで失礼します。
Toko rose to her feet, straightened out her clothes, and passed right by me.
大丈夫なのかい？
ええ、もちろん。それではごゆっくり、時坂先生。
She left the infirmary after lingering on my name far longer than necessary.
なんだあいつ。
朽木さんですか？あまりよくは知りませんけれど、時々ここで休んでいますね。
そうなんですか。
So she really was ill despite her tough act.
あの年頃だと生理不順などで体調も崩しやすいですからね。
Was that how it worked? Hey man, I don't know. Don't ask me, brother. I had no idea even though I lived with a girl the very same age.
ところで、先生はなぜここへいらしたんですか？
Every time I hear about women getting periods, I get so angry. You know, I just get so angry. I punch my wall, and then my bookshelf full of feminist literature, like, starts falling over. But because I'm 6'7", I just grab it and, like, lean it back up against the wall so I don't damage any of my most prized possessions. You know, but, I mean, that's just me, you know. Incidentally, may I ask what you're doing here?
ああ、そうそう。
I came to talk to you,
聞
Nene.
きたいことがありましてね。
I could think about Toko later. Work came first.
行方不明になっている2人の学生についてなんですが、
Yeah, same
誰か
friends
話を聞ける
and
学生はい
connections.
ませんかね？
石園さんと今村さんでしたら、確か1年生の佐藤歩さんと仲が良かったと記憶しているわ。
Ayumu as in Ayumu Kasuga from the hit series Azumanga Daioh.
佐藤さんですね。
I made a mental note to pay her a visit later.
あと西園さんは美術部だから、あなたの妹さんに聞くのもいいと思うわよ。
ああ、そうか。
So Yukari had ties to her too.
どうもありがとうございます。
いえいえ、私にはこのくらいしかできませんから。
Nini saw me off with a little smile. Man, you got so many. You got Nene. You got God, what's her name? Kyoko, I think her name was. Oh man, so many to choose from. I don't know. Between Nene and Kyoko, I think that's her name. I gotta go with Kyoko, man. I don't know. I gotta go with Kyoko. I mean, the whole like baddie nurse thing is totally like, okay, that's, hey man, that could get me any other day of the week. But when you got Kyoko in the mix, I feel like it's close, but it's not necessarily a challenge to make that decision. I had another class in the afternoon, but the students there were just as unresponsive as the first. They simply took the lesson in with silence, never once making any chit-chat. Then again, I was teaching seniors this time, so maybe they just wrote it off as a pointless lecture and ignored me. Still, I worried for my future in this place all the same, not as a teacher, but as a detective. In any case, now I could get down to investigating. I had a new lead. Hayama Sato, Yui Nishizona, and Haruka Imamura's mutual friend. I could probably still find her if I went looking. The freshman classrooms resided on the first floor. However, a voice called me to a halt right when I started to make my way downstairs.
先生。
Alright, let's take a guess. No idea.
何ですか？
Oh, it's the other fucking Toko. I turned around and cocked my head. Though I knew we'd met before, her name just wasn't coming to me.
2年藤組の水原瞳子です。
ああ、朽木さんの友達の。
So she was in that class too, huh? She'd blended in so well with the other students that I didn't notice.
何かありましたか？
先生。
Toko looked up my way. She's about to ask him some fucking ridiculous ass question, I just know it. She was glaring at me apprehensively like a mouse trying to scare off a cat. After a moment, she managed to muster a frail whisper.
瞳子に近づかないでくださ
I
い。
fucking knew it.
失礼します。
Toko turned around and left without giving me a chance to question her.
何だったんだ。
Like I said, she's about to say some crazy ass shit. Unfortunately, there was no one around who could answer that question. Fucking hell. Stay away from Toko. Just, okay. let me go on. Let me go on a little spiel here. Fucking Toko is such a fucking weirdo. Like clearly she has a thing for Kuchiki, but it's like in the most yandere way fucking possible, which really makes me suspicious of her. But again, it's another one of those things where it's like, yeah, but it's so obvious that she's a potential suspect that I don't even like. I'm not even looking in her direction, right? But at the same time, she is just she's a little fucking weirdo, man. She's a little fucking freak. Like it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, Toko's my boo boo bear, but then to be like, oh yeah, let me go up to this random teacher that talk to her once or twice and tell him to stay away from her, and then she's so openly hostile towards anybody that interacts with Toko. Like she's literally gatekeeping Toko, and that's fucking crazy to me. I feel bad for Toko, the little fucking crazy bitch following her around. So I'm really intrigued with her right now, just because it's like, what the fuck is going on with her? What, like, first off, is her obsession with Toko, like, is there a story behind that, or is that just like how she is for some goddamn reason, right? But I guess we'll see. And then also you have Tuzuriko's obsession with Orihime. So you got a couple dynamics here that are interesting. God. Class is ended for the day. If I was going to start investigating for real, it'd have to be now. The first order of business was resuming my plan to speak with Ayumu Sato. There was just one problem. A big one, in fact. I had no idea what she looked like. I could have just asked some other student about her, but that seemed way too conspicuous. A new short-term teacher looking for a single student sounded extremely sketchy. What to do? Alright, wait for her at the entrance, ask Yukari to grab her, pretend I'm returning something she lost. I mean, what's the point of waiting for her at the entrance if we don't know what she looks like, first off? And second off, that is just way too conspicuous. Asking Yukari to grab her isn't a terrible idea, honestly. But then it's like, what does that entail? Is that us being like, hey, yo, can you get Yukari to talk to me? Or can you get Ayumu to talk to me? Or is that something where it's like, oh yeah, pretend to need Ayumu for something, and then come on back to us? Because we still got to remember, Yukari is, I'm pretty sure they said a junior. Like, she's a junior. Sato Ayumu is a freshman. So it's like, And then pretend I'm returning something she lost. I mean, it's like, how would I know she lost something, right? How would I even know this is hers? Interesting. Choices. I'm kind of... I'm trying to think. It's not completely impossible Yukari wouldn't be able to do it. I think I might ask Yukari to do it. That's just the least conspicuous thing. But then again, it's like, are we going to pretend that, oh, hey, I just happened to bump into you? Or are we going to specifically send Yukari to get her to come see me? Right? Like, how is this going to work out here? Let's just ask Yukari to grab her. Asking Yukari seemed like the smart play. After all, she'd catch on to my motives right away. I found Yukari in front of her classroom.
Oi, Yukari.
どうかしましたか?
She was carrying her bag. Guess she was about to go home.
頼まれて欲しいことがあるんだが。
ええ、構いませんけど。
1年生の佐藤歩という学生を知っているか?
ええ、もちろん。
Yes.
西園さんの友達ですから。
Yukari kept her voice quiet to avoid any prying ears.
話が聞きたいから呼んできてもらえないか?
それは構わないのですが、彼女は剣道部ですからこの時間は練習をしていると思いますよ。
そうなのか。
終わってからの方がいいと思いますけど。
I see. Then I've got some time to kill, huh? Well, that's some good information right there. Now I knew Ayumu Sato's location. Though I still didn't know what she looked like, I probably didn't need to visit the Kendo Hall to check. Keeping a low profile is more important. All sorts of unsavory rumors could start spreading if people found out a teacher wanted to see a specific student. Still, was all this secrecy really necessary? Things would have been so much easier if I could have operated out in the open.
こんな環境で生活することなんざなかったからな。
私の兄さんは年頃の女学生がたくさんいると我を見失う危険な人物だったのですね。
なんでそうなるゆかり。
I glanced up to find Yukari just a meter or two away. She must have overheard me talking to myself.
鼻の下を伸ばしていらっしゃるようでしたから。
それはないぞ。で、何の用だ？
お話がありますから美術室まで来ていただけますか？
ここではダメなのか？
ええ、向こうにみんないますから。
I left the room as Yukari led the
美
way.
術室はどこにあるんだ？
物質棟と芸術教室は別棟になってるんです。戦後の学生改革の際、手狭になった本校舎から分けたという話ですよ。
Yukari walked on ahead.
で、何の話なんだ？
そう焦らなくても大丈夫ですよ。別に無理難題を押し付けるつもりはありませんから。
そう願うよ。
There were already two other students in the art room. Toko Kuchiki and Toko Mizuhara.
遅かったね、時坂先生。先生。
Look at this bitch, bro. She's already fucking like... the two Tokos sat in chairs side by side.
で、何の用事があるんだ？
来週14日の水曜日に部活動の研修として美術館へ行く予定なんです。
水曜日って平日じゃないか。
平日ですけれど休校日ですから。
そこで時坂先生に頼みがあるんだ。本来ならば顧問の先生が引率するのだけど、その日どうも都合が悪いらしい。
で、俺についてこいと？
ええ、兄さんはおそらく暇でしょうからちょうどいいはずですよ。
Come on, Yukari. That hurts. Seriously?
面倒くさいから嫌だと言ったら？
認めません。
My sister's smile was positively blood-curdling.
まあいいじゃないか。時坂先生も暇なんだろ？
暇じゃないんだがな。
Well, no, I do, but... Shit. For whatever reason, I just couldn't refuse a request when it came from this girl.
別に先生がいなくてもいいじゃないですか。
Toko suddenly bared her evident distaste.
どうこ？そういうわけにもいかないんだよ。でも
頼りない兄ですけれど保護者としては使
Damn,
えますから。
Yukari, come on. Hype your brother up a little bit here. What the fuck? It was insulting someone how people ask for favor these days. Toko still clearly wasn't happy about the arrangement. It seemed she disdained
と
me.
ころで、美術館では何をやっているんだ？
間宮心臓という画家の個展が開かれているんですよ。
間宮心臓？
世界でも高く評価されている芸術家ですよ。
I sure hadn't heard of him. Guess that showed just how much I knew about art.
絵画に限らず彫刻などでも多くの作品を発表されています。カトリック信者であったらしく宗教画に近いものが多いのですけれどね。
だから勉強を兼ねて見に行くのさ。それでは先生。
Toko got up, carrying her bag and sketchbook.
もう帰るのか？
いや、絵の続きを描きたいんだ。それじゃ。
Toko vacated the art room.
待って、トコ。
Toko also got up and quickly followed suit. Was it just me, or did she shoot me one last glare?
兄さんも帰りますか？
いや、俺はまだやることがある。
Kendo practice would probably be ending any minute now.
そうですか。ではまた後ほど。
I left the art room and headed for the main building. I saw girls carrying what appeared to be kendo gear filing in at the exact same time.
佐藤歩さんはいますか？
The girls turned around upon hearing my voice. A moment later, one of them stepped forward.
私ですが、何か。
The girl flashed me a suspicious glance. Though she appeared docile, she had a glint in her eyes other students lacked. I couldn't tell if it was because she did kendo or she was simply wary of me.
少し話があるのですが。
話？
Ayumu cocked an eyebrow.
ええ、 あまり大きな声では言えない話なので場所を移動したいのですが。
ここではダメなのですか？
Oh boy, she's really cautious of me. Where could we talk about this privately? Staff room, infirmary, or history prep room? Clearly this is gonna matter. Okay, let's think about this. So, if I remember correctly, I don't think even the staff know about what's going on with us. The only staff member who knows that we're a detective is the nurse, which makes me want to take her to the nursery, or the infirmary. Just because if the nurse is there, then not only does that kind of like, hey, I'm not taking you to like this first, I mean, it's one of the things where it's like, I'm not taking you somewhere that's like private, right? So we're not being weird about it. And at the same time, you have another teacher here who knows what's going on, who's also female, who can kind of quell any suspicions or tensions that may be there. So that's why I think I'm going to take her to the infirmary.
では保健室で。赤崎先生もいるでしょうから。
職員室では行けないのですか？
Ayumu's brow furrowed. While the staff room wasn't exactly private, we could probably avoid prying ears so long as we took it to the reception area and spoke in hushed tones. Though in hindsight, I should have considered she'd be uncomfortable going to an isolated place with some guy she just met.
そうですね。職員室に行きましょう。
Whoa! What the fuck? Excuse me? He literally even said, right? Like, oh, Dr. Akazaki should be there. Like, don't get me wrong, I completely understand why that would be weird as fuck, right? Like, hey, wanna come alone with me, the new male teacher, to the infirmary? The only place in the entire school with a bed that's typically secluded? Like, I get that, but at the same time, it's like, I thought Dr. Akazaki being there might ease some tensions. Ah, whatever. Fuck me.
Hi.
That seemed agreeable to her, so I decided to head there immediately. I would like to make it known that would have been my second choice, okay? We arrived at the staff room.
おや、時坂先生。どうかされましたか？
I bumped into Saiki just as he was leaving.
例の失踪事件のことで彼女に話を聞こうと思いまして。
There were no other teachers around. Thus, I openly mentioned the case loud enough for Ayumu to hear.
そうですか。でしたら、奥の応接でお話しされた方がよろしいでしょうね。
Saiki gestured to the sofas by the
お
wall.
心遣い感謝します。
I beckoned Ayumu over toward the sofas.
先生、何者なんですか？
今は非常勤講師の時坂礼二です。
I said as much, knowing that answer wasn't going to satisfy her.
でも、失踪事件って。まさかユイのこと、警察ですか？
まあ似たようなものではあるけれどね。
探偵。
Though it wasn't a job that exactly inspired confidence, Ayumu did seem to relax a bit after hearing that.
西園さんと今村さんのこと。
わかりました。
Ayumu nodded.
まずは西園さん。どういう人だったのかな。
ユイは明るい子でした。誰とも分け隔てなく接することのできる性格でしたから、友達は多かったと思います。
友達が多いね。今村さんは？
今村さんも友達はたくさんおられたようです。
二人がいなくなる前、何か気になったことはないかな。
Ayumu hung her head, clearly trying to recall her times with them. Yeah, clearly trying to recall her times with them.
どんな些細なことでもいいんだ。何か。
今思えば、年が明けてからのユイは元気がなかったような気がします。
年明けか。いなくなる直前だな。
Which meant something had probably happened around the start of the month.
ユイは決して一人でいなくなってしまうような真似はしません。
Ayumu's voice remained level, but I could tell she was keeping her emotions in check. There's nothing I could say to that. I couldn't bring myself to tell her that it was indeed likely Yui Nishizono had found herself at the wrong end of a crime, just as she feared.
今村さんに関しては何か知らないかな。
今村さんは特に何も。 ユイがいなくなった時にはとても心配してくれていましたけれど。
I took that to mean Ayumu hadn't picked up on any signs concerning Haruku Imamura then.
ありがとう。すまないね。無理やり聞き出すような真似をして。
いいんです。時坂先生。
何ですか？
ユイを、今村さんを見つけてください。お願いします。
ああ、もちろん。そのためにここへ来たのだからね。
Once again, I couldn't bring myself to say the odds of finding them alive were abysmally low. Yeah. The sky was already taking on dark hues by the time I finished talking to Ayumu Sato. Alright, where to? Let's see. Oh, the art museum. What? They said that was on Wednesday, though. Not today. Does it tell us a date if we try and tab out? Maybe in our notes? It's 0309, I just forget what day it is. I don't think we need to go to the museum, though. Oh yeah, no, because that's the day that they don't have school, so it wouldn't be today. We can probably scope it out, though. Moon World, Inokashita Park, Shinjuku Station, Takashito Clinic. I don't think there's anything more we really need from the Takashito Clinic. I think we have everything that we need from there. I'd probably say... Let's do Moon World again. I like going to Moon World. It's fun there. I went over Moon World back in Kishijoji.
いらっしゃいませ。
ん？
Hasane seemed down for some reason.
コーヒーもらえるかな？
わかりました。どうぞこちらへ。
She led me to the counter where I found Kyoko looking my way with an indecipherable gaze.
どうしたんだ？
ちょっと落ち込んじゃっててね。
Kyoko's shoulders were drooped as she cradled a coffee cup handle. Literally just a handle in her hands.
はは。落として割ったのか。
私は気にしてないって言ったんだけれどね。
That broken handle had belonged to a cup that Kyoko's late husband had gifted her, if my memory served right. It wasn't fancy by any means, but apparently he'd gotten it from a company in England.
カウンターの端に置いていた私が悪いのよ。でもあの子ってば深刻に受け止めちゃってね。
Well, yeah. Anyone would as soon as they learned it was a memento. I swiveled around to find Hatsune working, head hung like she'd found out the end of the world was near. Oh, what am I doing? Uh-oh. And the game crashed. Okay, awesome. She wasn't going to be in any state to handle customers unless something was done.
雨宮さん、ちょっといいかな？
何でしょうか。
I held out my hand before she could get any closer and brought my coffee over to a table. Okay, how do I tackle this? Alright, let's see. Console her. Tell her to give Kyoko a makeup present. Huh. I mean, in situations like these, it's like... telling somebody, oh, it's fine, it's okay, is never gonna actually make them feel any better about it. I feel like action has to be taken on that person's part for there to be any kind of consolation. Or like, self-forgiveness, so...
こういうのはどうだろう？
I broke the ice as I looked Hatsune in the eye.
このまま落ち込んでいたって仕方がない。壊れたものはもう戻らないんだ。
はい、わかっています。
だから今度は雨宮さんが京子にプレゼントするんだ。
プレゼント？
贈り物さ。雨宮さんが一生懸命働いて京子に恩返しするつもりであげるのさ。
I figured that it'd take some of the weight off of Hatsune's shoulders.
でもそれはもう京子さんが大切にしていたカップじゃないですから。
割れたカップに込められた思い出が消えるわけじゃないし、雨宮さんからもらったカップなら京子は必ず大切にすると思うよ。
I gave Hatsune a reassuring pat on the head.
なんせこんなによくできた従業員なんだから。
そんなことないです。
今度のカップには君の頑張りが思い出として込められるんだ。
素敵だと思います。ありがとうございます、時坂さん。
Hatsune bowed with a hint of red on her cheeks before ambling over to Kyoko. This should take care of things. I hoped my suggestion had successfully derailed her original train of thought at least. Before long, Hatsune bowed deeply and moved away from the counting, so I took my mostly empty cup back to Kyoko.
どうだ？
あそこまで言われて断れるはずないでしょ。
Kyoko refilled my cup.
まあでも沈まれているよりはずっといいわ。ありがとう時坂くん。で
What's with all
も
those cheesy
あ
lines?
んな臭いセリフはどうかと思うわよ。
聞かなかったことにしてくれ。
Alrighty. Let's see. Should we end it off here? Should we go to whatever other place? It's probably gonna be like 2 places we can go to. Let's go. Let's just end it off here. This is a pretty good spot to save. Bang. And then we'll go ahead and exit. How do I get? I forget. I completely forget. Oh wait, here we go. Return to title. Okay. So, another episode of Toko being a fucking weirdo. But the whole Ayumu Sato bit, I wouldn't say it's helpful. I think it's definitely just confirming some more things that we kind of already figured, right? Like, clearly one of those girls got mixed up, likely with an individual that she shouldn't have gotten mixed up with. Now, we could throw out a couple theories there. Maybe she had happened to attract the attention of the killer just as a stalker, and she had an explicit relationship with somebody else. Maybe she just had sex. Maybe she got pregnant, something like that. Then killer dude lashes out, kidnaps her, kills her, dismembers her, does his whole thing. His or her whole thing, right? It's possible. It could not be that at all. It could be that, I don't know, maybe something happened, and whatever happened to make her depressed was just the catalyst used by the killer to lure her out. Maybe the other girl that got killed went to go after her friend and got caught by the killer as well. Maybe they did specifically target those two for individual reasons, right? There's a whole lot to this. Because it seems that for it, at the very least for the 2 girls that we saw get killed, you know, obviously the killer had an MO, that being, you know, their purity, right? And obviously when it comes to girls and what their purity would be, that's typically their virginity. So, I don't know. Sato's little bit there that we got, it wasn't, again, it really wasn't like anything particularly helpful or eye-opening. But, I mean, of course, once this all comes together, it'll be a piece of the puzzle. But very interesting indeed. And I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you don't know who the killer is. We could not. This could be a game where you don't even get to see who the killer is until they're revealed, and then it's like you know, you've never actually met them before. We could be talking to one of these killers in these sequences. It could be the young male teacher from earlier. It could be fucking Toko with her crazy bitch ass. We don't know. It could be Toko herself, Kuchiki Toko. It could be fucking her, for all we goddamn know. Considering she's so tightly, you know, seemingly tightly related to this shell stuff. But that's something to figure out in the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like on the video and tell me in the comment section below what you'd like to see me play next. If you enjoyed this video or any other videos this series on my channel, then I highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you'll be notified when a new one of those videos comes out. Anyways, that's it from me, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.